So today I'm getting my inner left thigh finished up.
Oh, inner thigh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, well,
That's
we did
gonna
the right one last week.
Yep.
And it was fun.
An adventure.
I think the most memorable parts are, well, there's two actually, because I thought the worst part was going to be holding my member away from the area.
That's fair.
But then the two guy stretching the
Yeah, that was
when you had to come help.
that was wild.
Yeah. How was that for you?
Oh man, that was weird.
Is that the closest you've ever been to a man's asshole?
Yes. Yes. And I hope that's the closest I will get again.
Yeah.
So to help describe it a little bit, you were getting tattooed right underneath your ass cheek.
Yeah.
So that skin is stretchy. Everybody understands that the ass moves.
Yeah.
And like when you're tattooing, the skin has to be a certain level of tautness in order for the needle to be able to penetrate. Otherwise, it just kind of bounces off the skin. You see the skin wavering and no ink goes in, but you feel pain.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, I feel pain, yeah.
Yeah. I'm standing there, like, I'm walking past, and Rick's, like, having a hell of a time, and his, like, shoulders giving out and all that stuff, and he was just like, throw on some gloves, help me with this.
Yeah.
And, like, so I'm helping stretch this skin right underneath your ass. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, no worries.
But, yeah, there's the Rick and I working on the stretch to try and get it done. But I mean, it worked.
It did. And what fascinates me about that is the week prior we did the other side.
Yep.
And it was much less time. Like we didn't spend as much time overall.
Yep.
But he did that piece on his own somehow. I don't know how he did it.
Well, he explained it to me
because he was sore afterwards.
He was very sore, like for a few days.
Yeah.
But he explained it to me. It was where you were positioned on the bed. So like with where you were the other time, he was able to use kind of like his forearm and whole body weight to stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when he was doing it this side, it was the opposite. So he couldn't use his full body weight to stretch that whole area.
Yeah.
So therefore, he needed a helping pair of hands.
Well,
it was very strange.
Yeah, his full body weight. We say that, but his full body weight is he's a large man.
Yes.
And my lower back was a little sore afterwards.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
And I don't mean the derriere itself.
No.
I mean, like
I was pressing on your frame.
Sometimes the way you sit and the way you're positioned, it actually ends up being the most sore.
The most painful part, yeah.
Like there's been times where I'll be forced into such a way that my upper back will be stiff, or my legs will be sore, or like my neck will be. Sometimes you'll have your neck hanging like this.
Yeah.
If you're getting like this area done.
Well, and we're big on like. I mean, the stretch is super important, and if you're going to be there for a while, the artist kind of needs you in a spot that's going to make it easiest for them to stretch, because people don't understand how exhausting that is. Like, and I was working on Scott's back leg, and it was exhausting.
Yeah. What were you doing on his back leg?
Just working on a piece that he's letting me do on him.
Oh, cool.
What
kind of piece is it?
It's like so. It started off with like a small tiger,
and
then it's sort of grown from there. I did a bouquet of flowers around the other side of the tiger.
So now you're just filling it out.
No, then it was a Spartan warrior above.
Oh,
so now it's like this big. It started off as like this little piece, and now it's like most of his thigh.
Wow.
Like most of the back of his thigh, and then we have to go out, which I'm planning right now to go up onto the hip.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing, and then. I don't think we're gonna go inner. I don't think that's worth it.
You know what? Because like my first suit, I considered completed, but there were some areas I didn't bother with.
Yeah.
The areas that I didn't really feel like mattered were areas that I would only see.
Yeah.
And so I didn't go into the inner thigh.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, oh, I'm a coward and I want to avoid the area. I mean, God knows it's not pleasant, but it's certainly not the worst either.
No.
Like it's uncomfortable for its own reasons, but it's definitely bearable. Although I will say that skin is a little bit like it's sensitive. It's not used to being touched at all, really. Like if we touch it at all, it's like we're trimming or
Yep.
we're gardening or we're
landscaping
with our partner, right? Like we're gentle, right? These areas aren't banged around much by life.
No.
So I did actually find it doesn't happen often, but for the one time I had one line that was a little bit scabby this time. Just one nick, like it was like about that. Because I haven't had any scabs with Rick at all, which is absolutely mind-blowing, by the way.
Yeah.
Like that it's not a diss for me to say I have, at the end of these legs, I've had one little scab.
Which is crazy, too, because you're going over some pieces that are pretty heavily traumatized already.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And, like, it's pretty common that would be an issue for most people, right?
Yep.
But you've had, like, the best heal.
Well, I've had a few people, because I've shown the fronts of my thighs a few times, and I've had a few people, was your artist inexperienced? Because I have these scars, right? And in the black, you can see the scars pretty well, but that's not from the Blackout. That was from the old work.
Yep.
That made them quite a bit harder to cover.
Yeah.
Right? Having that scar there was like, we spent about twice as long covering old pieces as we did anywhere where there was fresh skin, which wasn't many places. We got to the inner thighs, like I said, and that's all fresh skin because I didn't bother with it. And it was, so if I was just going piece for piece, the only big areas I had that weren't tattooed the first time around were my inner thighs. And that was it. Like everything else was big piece, and then I was just starting to do all the little filler bits and kind of getting like, do I really need 8,000 bats? Like, because I had a sheet of like silhouette bats, and I was fitting them places.
Yep.
I don't know if you've seen this. I had they were just in between random, and I had Dragon Balls in between random things.
Which, like, if you're doing a patchwork style leg sleeve, that's not a bad filler.
That's what my legs looked like because my upper body was very connected. It was like a huge, elaborate work of all kinds of designs. Some of them I didn't like, and some of them I loved. Because like people always, you hated them all. I always have to talk about this minute. I didn't hate them all, but there were some that I was like, I shouldn't have done that. That was a bad one.
Yep.
Right? Like I had...
we all have our own. I
had stars done by Rick on my belly button, or like right below my belly button. And one here, and I had like, they were in my first tattoo too, the same style of stars. They were like, I don't even know what I would call them because they weren't any... They were really like tribal like star. They were really pointy and long in places, short in others. But anyway, I had these all over the place for some reason, and they were like a loose body theme. Like I just got, I'll just put some here, and it'll kind of connect everything. I had some on my ankles. I even had 2 on my face. Really turned into roses.
Yep.
But when I was getting those done, Rick did the first 5 of them, and he was just like, I don't want to do any more of these. Just anything else. I'm getting tired of these. I was like, huh. And I didn't realize until later, like, I don't know what I was doing because I even had 2 on my hands.
Yeah.
Like I had like one here, and they had red at the center. They had like a red smaller star inside the black star.
Oh, okay.
They looked like kapows.
Like, that's kind of cool, actually.
It was
just
weird,
a bodysuit of kapows.
Like, I don't really know exactly what I was thinking with those.
I mean, it doesn't really... Like, some tattoos are just kind of like, and then you don't really think about it.
Well, that's the funny thing, is, like, people always look at my old suit and they're like, it was perfect, it was beautiful, like, why did you get rid of it? And I'm like, okay, neither. Like, it was not perfect. You could say it was beautiful, but you're not looking very deep. People just want to see images, right?
Yeah.
If they see a person full of images, they don't even care how well each one was executed.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, look how much he did.
Yeah.
Look how much he did.
Well, and I think the world's knowledge of tattooing is kind of expanding a little bit. Because like when you started your bodysuit, like I don't think culturally the caliber of tattoos was known.
No, I don't think so.
The same way. Like, because like what we can do now with tattoos is crazy. Yeah. And I think for a long time tattoos were viewed as like, oh, cool, you did that thing on you. Yeah. And that has its place too. But just we now, like, if you were to think of that same bodysuit, and you were to think, okay, like, how could it be done? Now we all understand that the level of that could be a different level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So where my leg tattoos were extremely like the big pieces, they were all really high quality pieces. I didn't have much junk there.
Yeah.
I had quite a bit of junk up here because most men, it seems like men more than women, don't do their legs until later.
Yeah.
Like most men.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, it's like a guy expects, to have his sleeves and your torso, and then you'll see you catch a picture of them wearing shorts and they got like a little raptor face here or something, right? Like a cat claw or something. They got one leg tattoo and their whole torso's done. It's like that's very common.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's like I didn't get to that level because before I finished my upper body, I had several leg tattoos too because I was acutely aware of what that would look like.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. I mean, even me, like, I'm slowly working away at these legs before I finished my right arm.
Yeah.
And like now I'm at the place where I need probably 2 or 3 more on the lower leg to finish that off.
Yeah.
And it's driving me nuts. Like I want to get that covered. I don't know why. It's just now it's at the stage where it's
once you get closer to the end, and then it's like you can almost taste it.
Oh yeah,
you're
it's
like
weird.
I just need it. I need it filled.
Yeah,
like you get into this crazed kind of mindset.
Yeah,
and then the image that goes there. I'm not saying you don't have it planned or anything like that, but the image becomes much less important than the conquest of it.
Well, the funny thing is like since it's just all skulls, right?
Yeah.
So I don't really care what the image is because it's a skull.
Yeah, like
do something with that, fit this space. So it has almost the least amount of cares of any tattoo I've had, which is, but yet I'm really stoked on every single one of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It's a weird thing. I've never really done tattoos.
You have a favorite?
They're all so different that I don't know if I could say I have a favorite. I really do like. I have like a neo-traditional neo-traditional color skull with like a serpent kind of flowing through it on this side. Done by Alex Rose, and it's pretty wicked. I'm fascinated by that style.
Yeah, he does some good stuff. I follow him still.
Yeah,
he's got some pretty cool styles that he does.
And like I don't know, neo-traditional leaves you with so much freedom.
Yeah.
To do what you want. I mean, it was a very painful tattoo, I'll say that. Like, that guy runs a 14-liner, and that is the hardest hitting machine I've ever experienced in my life.
That's a big liner.
Oh, man, it was... Everything else he did was like a vacation from that. That liner was like, I literally had to hold the table, which I don't usually have to do that way, but man, it was something else. It was something else.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. But, I mean, they're all cool in their own right. Like, and I just can't wait to keep adding more. But eventually I'll run out, and it is what it is.
What about little mini skulls as filler?
I think I want to do them as filler. Because I like doing the single needle stuff. So, well, for filler, actually, I'm doing black.
Just black? Just straight, like hard black?
Yeah, hard black.
Yeah.
Like, I've started looking at more and more people that are doing like a sleeve where the components are still themselves and they've blacked out up until them.
I think that's becoming really popular.
It's so striking.
It's weird because at one point that seemed like a total waste.
Yeah.
And really, like you can't figure something else out. But now it's like it's the perfect way to make everything else pop forward.
Yeah, it really does.
Like anything that's left against that hard black. This is actually something I was going to talk about another week. We were talking. I spaced on it. Was the only thing that I miss about my old tattoos that I had on my arms that I left originally was anytime you have just a straight sheet of black, there's no contrast anymore. So when I still had a few guys breaking it up, everything looked blacker and whiter, right? Like it was that contrast drives.
It just goes up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't have any of that. Well, I have a few spots of that.
Yeah.
But like,
well, I think that's what makes the eye so bold for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like this, because you've got this like almost skin tone white interior with the red, which is such a hard contrast to the rest of the black around it.
Yeah.
And when you see that image of your torso, it's like, whoa.
And that's another thing about that eye is like, people might assume that there's some negative space there, but there's literally nothing left that hasn't been tattooed there.
Oh,
It's all like layered white
and probably a couple of times.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's full of scar too, like everywhere. Like that piece is probably one of the most scarred pieces on my whole body.
Well, I mean, it would make sense that much light tones, like light
so
tones,
many colors.
Yeah.
That thing used to be yellow and orange and pink and stuff. Now it's like red and black.
Yeah.
Like it's been touched up so many times to try and like keep it relevant and interesting.
Yeah.
Because like when I put all that black next to it originally, it was like, okay, this thing looks like washed out as it gets now.
Yeah.
Right? Like it looks like all faded and almost watercolory next to it, and I was like, this is not gonna work. So like as I was doing the blacking out, I was realizing how it was playing with the things that were left, and then you're having to worry about how to handle those pieces if they're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Like it's like, okay, if this chest is gonna stay, it really needs some love. If the eye is gonna stay, it really needs some love. My whole back piece probably needs some love eventually.
Yep.
Like because a lot of that was done with darker gray wash, but there's gray wash in it, and I don't think there can be anymore in the shading.
Yeah.
I just think that it just doesn't. It kind of clashes, and even Lee has said as much himself. Like we could make it darker. Like if he was here, like in this city, in this last year, we would have done that already.
Yep.
It's just obviously he isn't, and you don't really. It's not really easy to have another artist like come in and rework something that huge and do it any justice.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Like, and if you're gonna do it, to find a guy that can do it well is gonna be very difficult.
Style matching is tricky because even if the two of you could create like almost the same image, where you start and finish and your thought process along the way is completely different from another guy.
Yeah, we're different humans.
Like how did Lee get to this result would be completely different than Rick would.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Well, you see that, like the two Night Kings that you had. Two very different approaches to it, right?
Yeah, the Witch King and the Mouth are they're both black and gray portraits, but they look completely different and they have a different feeling.
Yep.
Like you can tell they weren't done by the same person. I love them both, and they both get to stay.
Yep.
I think that the Witch King is, from a technical standpoint, probably the better guy there, but he's my least favorite of the two, which is a weird thing to say because it's like, though there's so much more detail in him, I prefer that really hard contrast.
That's fair, man.
Right? Like I like seeing whites and blacks, right? And that's again the only thing that I miss about having pure blackout is that absence of contrast. That's it.
Yeah.
So like that, people would assume, okay, well, so get some white over black, but it's never going to be the same.
Like one of the Craig here has his right arm is blackout with white ink peonies on it, and like it's subtle, man. It's real subtle. Like even the dude that did that tattoo on me, he has a blackout sleeve.
Yeah.
But he had scarification done.
Yeah.
And then white ink poured in the scarification.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then like that was the starkest contrast of the white over black that I've seen. And he had these kind of like traditional style tattoos carved out of it.
Yeah,
For people who don't know, scarification is they cut out pieces of your skin.
Yeah.
In a stenciled shape, and they can do a lot with that.
I know a guy. I've talked about him, I think, one other podcast, the Evil Blackout. We chat every now and then.
Yeah.
He's been at it for 4 years. He's completely covered. He's like covered. He has like his lips blacked out.
Ooh.
It's like all the way up. And he's a sweet guy. I guess I just read an article about him because we don't chat all the time, but there was an article written about him that was actually really like nice. It was a flattering, well-written article. They didn't smear him.
Oh, that's good.
Right? They painted him in a great light.
Yeah.
He works at a care center for old people.
Oh yeah.
Like
totally.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like
sounds like a sweet human being.
You would swear to God, how would he get that job? Like, because everyone was, how you can never work in the public. Well, this guy's doing it just fine.
Yeah.
But he's only been tattooing himself for 4 years. But now he's on the scarification and like black lines over top, like both. He's just kind of like
it's a whole nother world.
It's a really abstract concept that he's doing, and he only really posts progress stuff. So he'll just like post a picture of like new fresh slab of skin that's been cut off or whatever, right? Where in a little scissors underneath for his caption, and you're like, oh, he's got some more scarification.
Yeah,
and like. Scarification is nothing I really want for myself, but I find it like, it's really interesting and kind of inspiring.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't really want to know that feeling. It's not even like, oh, I'm scared of it. It's just, that's not my particular forte.
Yeah.
Like, I want to stick with piercings and tattoos. I don't really want to get into those sorts of things.
I think he said that he was fully numbed.
I'm sure.
Like, they had that European grade numbing stuff, and because he said that you couldn't feel it, but that sounds like the way I would want to do it.
Yeah, I always wonder how they do some of these heavy mods having very little actual knowledge of, because it's really arcane.
Yep.
Like, I've listened to podcasts and I've spent some time on BME and stuff, but when it comes down to the actual in the moment, like what you do, like how do you sew someone's lip shut, and like how do you like what's the process for cutting someone's tongue like, and like scarification, what's the healing like? Like, these things are really almost arcane to me, where I have no depth of knowledge about those things.
Well, I mean, that whole industry is it's new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the depth of knowledge it's a super shallow pool. You've got some people out there that are phenomenal at it. Like, I've seen people do portraits with scarification, which I didn't think would be possible. But, you know, like, it's like with anything. Like, right now, it's a lot of question marks, is what I would say.
Yeah, you can't Google it.
No. And I mean, even for, like you have this with your level of piercing and stretching and things like that. Like, you're doing things that a lot of the general piercing world would not maybe even think is possible.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you go to a standard piercer that just does jewelry for people that are just getting their lobes or helix or whatever, like, and someone were to walk in and ask them about that, my guess is they don't know.
Well, most labrets, for example, like mine, are cut out. Like, they're cut to a certain point.
Yep.
And I haven't done anything like that. I haven't scalpeled anything. I haven't punched anything. It's all just been organically stretched, like just size by size. And for me, the learning part has been comfort, because even right now, like, I've had people who are like, can you talk with that thing in your mouth? It looks like you can't talk. And I'm like, well, first off, I've always had a lisp. I have a tongue tie. So I've had people ask me if the piercing has made it harder for me to speak or articulate. No, but it does look like my lip can't move as well. Like, that is a thing. My lip doesn't have the bend that it used to have.
Yeah.
That's something I'm still figuring out, though. Like, I work with Stonewolf for all my custom pieces, and right now it's a lot of figuring out what's most comfortable long term, because I'm at my goal size.
Yep.
And I don't really want to go back. I can go down a size or two if I want, though. This is a funny story. People ask me all the time if my lip leaks, and it's never leaked. But the other day, it leaked a little.
Oh, really?
It actually, like, I was drinking, and there was I was drinking a lot of liquid, and because I normally drink like 10 to 20 liters of tea a day, so my mouth is always really like moist, right? And so I just noticed that there was some liquid seeping out of the bottom of it. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So obviously, again, Google can't help me. There's no help for me.
Yep.
Right? You Google 26 millimeter labret leaking at the bottom. What are you going to find? Stretched lip leaking. What are you going to find? Nothing. There's nothing. So what I did was I left it out overnight. And in the morning, it hurt to put this back in a little bit. Yeah. Because the mouth dries out, right?
Right.
And I think that if I left it out every night for like a week, it would go down maybe one side. It's never going to seal up. A hole this big won't just go back to nothing.
Well, although No one's done it before.
Yeah.
So like, because if you were to take it really long term,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, and you were to take it real slow and just downsize really slow, maybe it would.
I don't know how far I could get it down. Because people always go, it'll never go back to normal. Are you okay with that? I'm like, well, I'm okay with it. I have wondered if I went one size too big. Like, in between 24 and 26. I wanted 26 just because then I could say it was a proper full inch. That was the main consideration. Because I was at 24 and I was like, 24 looks good.
For bragging rights.
It's not an inch.
Yeah, I get
25.5 would be an inch, but we don't make 25.5. We make 25 and 26. So, I mean, I'm sure I could have got a 25.5, but I thought I'll just flat 26 and that'll be it. Now, 26, for me, this size, I found I had a little less, like, bend in my lip at this size than I used to have. Because in order to get stability in my labret, you have to increase the inside length longer than the outside length. So what you see is not as long as what's inside. So it actually, and it has a bend that goes along your mouth line.
Yeah.
So it has to, like, when you're designing this jewelry with someone, you can't just order like a normal piece.
Yeah.
It has to be built to your mouth specifications because everyone has a different parameter of their mouth, right? So mine, I have a really thick lip, so it has to be so long, but then I also have a bit of curvature, so I have to figure out what that is. You almost need like a 3D model of your teeth and mouth, right? In order to get a good fit. But even then, it's a lot of working back and forth what's comfortable and what isn't. So this is what you get with heavy modification.
Yeah.
You get into, there's going to be discomfort. It's going to be a change of life to some extent.
Yep.
So when people go and do these things, like, I know people who go and just get a scalpel 20 millimeter labret and they've got a small mouth. Like, I've got a giant mouth anyway. I always had big lips. So it looks like it's like a massive piece on them, right? Like, bigger than this looks on me. Because it depends on your dimensions.
It's all about proportions, right?
But they'll go and they'll get these giant labrets cut out, and they've never had a labret before. And I'm like, that's almost mutilation to me, because you just don't have any experience and you don't really know what that's going to be like.
Yeah.
It's, and I mean, like jumping
that is jumping in.
Into the deep end.
Yeah.
You, like, there's been times when my jewelry hasn't been right, and it's come through my mouth when I was talking because the wings were too narrow. And, like, it's embarrassing, and it's not what you want to be living with.
It's like your denture's falling out, but for your piercing.
There's all kinds of shit you can have happen if you don't know. Because, like I said, you can't just go, oh, I want this labret. It looks nice.
No, you're in entirely uncharted territory.
Yeah.
And okay, so here's a question: the people that are doing the cutting out, like, I understand the extreme side of things and, like, going for it, because sure, but when you think about, like, okay, someone cutting to a size that they just want, or stretching and taking the long road, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think it's better to go the long route?
I think the long route, because the more time you spend at each individual size, you gradually acquaint yourself to discomfort.
Yeah.
Like, you realize on the way there what it's going to be like more and more. Like, where when you just cut it out all at once, it's like, I didn't know it was going to be like this. I didn't know. And then you see these people are the ones that sometimes will get their lips sewn up or something. Like, which is always an option, by the way. If you don't like your labret piercing and you really want to get rid of it, it's one of the easiest ones to get rid of. A plastic surgeon just sews it shut.
Yeah.
Skin regrows.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, it's quick. I've seen lots of people do it. It leaves a scar.
Yeah, of course.
But
there's a hole missing in your face, so that's reasonable.
But it's pretty easy to seal shut. There's a guy I know, I think his handle is Blackout on Instagram. Nice guy. He had a giant labret. I think it was like 30 something millimeters, and he didn't have a wide like I do. Like, this is a wide labret, so it's a wide oval, so it goes more like wide, right?
Yep.
It's not like a big plug.
Yeah, not a big circle.
I have options for the same size that make my lip look completely different.
Yeah.
But he had just a round plug, so it was like a big button on his, like this, right? But he must have liked it because he got it sewn shut. And I think when you gradually do it, you end up finding your comfort zone might be less or more than you expected it was. So if you said, I just want a 20 millimeter labret, and you just go and get that, well, maybe you wanted an 18. You didn't know what that was going to do to your face, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't know what your dimensions mean to that. Now, when you're going from 14 gauge piercing, which is standard for a labret, up gradually one size at a time, you're seeing at each stage.
Yep.
You get to decide then where it stops and where it continues, right? Because for me, I kept going, it's pretty big, but it's not what I want. I thought I had stopped. I think I thought I had stopped around 16 millimeter because I had a few custom pieces made for it. And I was just like, it still doesn't look big enough. And then it was like, one more size. And then I got 24, and then it was like, okay, just 26 will be my stopping point. And I'm not going bigger because I don't want a lip plate.
Yeah.
And that's where I'm headed at that rate. If you don't hard line a stop, you'll just keep going. And the lip will wantonly stretch at some point. So like this thing will eventually just try and stretch itself. Now, it's at a point where it gets really, really relaxed with what you've got in it. Especially if you're wearing like stone jewelry or something.
Something that's got some weight.
Yeah, it'll just like keep kind of stretching itself. That's like I said, it started leaking that day.
Yep.
And I was able to stop that by taking it out for a night. In the morning, there was discomfort putting it in. And I'm like, I could probably go down a size doing this if I wanted to. And I might. I haven't decided yet. I have no ambition to get rid of mine. Yeah. But I'm like, still not sure about comfort where I'm at. Like, it's a lifelong thing.
Well, I mean, that's like one of the things that I think is good about what you're talking about is that like this living with what you've got thing. You know what I mean? Because like sometimes I think it's viewed as like everything has to get just because I mean that's societally what we do is like everything has to get more. Like we're the increase thing, right? But in terms of like you're talking about finding a place that's like homeostasis, like you got to find something that really works for your life. Yeah. And like sometimes, you know, people push it past that and they don't know how to walk it back or they can't walk it back. Like mentally they want to keep going or something like that. And it gets them into trouble. You see that all the time with like other avenues of body modification, like your plastic surgeries and things like that. Oh, yeah. Like, you know, the boobs that go out to next week kind of situation.
Yeah, that's the same thing. They didn't start that size. Yeah. I was looking at them, they were this big, and then I said, oh, about a little bigger. And then that mindset just keeps going.
Yeah, it's the never enough kind of mentality. Yeah. Whereas like if you want to embrace these avenues, the body modification avenues, it's like it's supposed to work in tandem with your life. Like, you know, you have to find something that doesn't hinder the rest of what you want to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? It doesn't hinder your 20 liters of tea a day. Yeah. You know, you maybe have to back it down one because
I might have to back it down one.
Yeah. And that's fine. You know what I mean?
And I don't even know if it's I have to, but like I could live with discomfort. Yeah. I have no problem living with discomfort. It's obvious. This kind of discomfort anyway. Yeah. Like piercings and tattoo discomfort, I could live this way until I'm 90. People be, oh, what are you going to do when you're 90? The same shit I'm doing now. Yeah, right? Really. I'll just be older and obviously I won't look as good, right?
Or you'll look better.
Or I'll look better. Who knows? Badass. Who can say? When was the last time you seen a 90-year-old with heavy body mods?
Well, they were tattooers. Right. And yeah, they look wicked.
So like
I love seeing the old guys that are like badass tattooed.
Oh, I do too. The Unilat had a really old Australian guy recently on who's been getting tattooed for something like 50 years. Sweet. He was really fun to listen to. Yeah. He just had a different mindset about life. Because he was even I would never tattoo my face, but then who am I to say? Like, you know, in my day, no one would have tattooed their whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he had a really great way about him, you know?
Well, 50 years ago, depending on where you were, tattoos were illegal.
Yeah.
Like, straight up just illegal.
Yeah, it was really fascinating seeing his tattoos too, because they were great.
Yeah.
But like they weren't great.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
They were great for the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if you were to get some of those tattoos today, like if I left this shop with one of the tattoos that he had, it would be like, oh, that looks faded and old and beat up. And well, yeah, but back then, like the inks they were using and the techniques, the machines, right?
Yep.
It's all relative.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right, and so to me, those tattoos look beautiful. But I know that there's the backstory of he didn't just get those yesterday.
No,
you know, those have been with him for his life.
There was a guy that was getting he got his hand tattooed with us. He was an older gentleman.
Yeah,
he's in his late 60s.
Oh, I think I remember this guy.
Yeah, he got the Davy Jones on his hand, all the way down to his finger bed, like nails.
Yeah,
which, like for his age, I was like, yeah, you are amazing. But he was telling me that he had the first sleeve in Alberta.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he got it because, like, again, it was not legal, and he even said that the guy that was doing it, like, he didn't want to do sleeves because it was one of those, like, it would draw attention to it or XYZ and get him in trouble or all that jazz. But yeah, he was one of the first full sleeves in Alberta back in the 70s, I think he said.
See, you know, I'm a little jealous of that. Like, and not, oh, I want that accolade, but what I'm jealous of is the potential to be the first for something.
Oh, and like such a normal thing now.
There's nothing.
Like, full
there's
sleeve
no
is like an absolutely normal thing, and he was the first in our province to have it.
Yeah,
which is like crazy.
There's no firsts and there's no bests anymore. You're never going to be number one of anything anymore because, like, for example, my labret conversation, it's like, yeah, well, why keep bothering going bigger for just bigger? Because you're never going to have the biggest one.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you're going to be the first guy with a 60 millimeter labret. I seen Stone Wolf put up a 60 millimeter labret it's the biggest one he's ever made. And I'm like, I'm not going that big.
Yeah.
So who am I in competition with?
Yeah,
and who knows who that's even for?
Yeah.
Like, these guys, there's unknowns out there that are doing
of course,
insane things, and good on them, but like, I'm not going to be the biggest. So what do I want for me?
Well,
you know
I think
what I mean?
That's like I don't know about you, but I grew up buying those Guinness Book of World Records things.
Oh yeah, I loved that stuff. I still find them interesting.
It's fascinating, but at the same time, like, I don't know, the more I think about it, maybe it's just like, other than like certain firsts that are going to be science based or like traveled, you know, like to Mars or whatever the nonsense is, like the most of something or the biggest or the whatever, it has its allure, but I almost just keep thinking like, well, or what is the best for you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not out of the world, because, like, I don't know, I think that had its place in time, that whole world's greatest, all that jazz.
I think it did because we didn't know it was possible at one point.
Yeah, and it's but I mean, like, it broadens your horizons. Like, that was part of the cool thing about that book, was like you get to see avenues of the world and people that you couldn't experience back in the day. But now we've got Google and Instagram and blah 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 blah. We see more stuff on the everyday than I think anybody would ever expect back then. But I mean, I just think there's something about finding out what's best for you, rather than what's the nth degree that you can take something to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and also there's the mindset for me, like, so what if I start buying the hype and I go, yeah, I've got the biggest I've got the biggest labret, I've got the biggest septum, and look how many blackout tattoos I've got, and and I'm just strutting around, and I'm all over the internet thinking this way, and anyone who ever asks me, I'm like, oh yeah, I've got the record for this, this, and this, and then I see walking next to me someone who's got better versions of everything I've just been bragging about, because that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Like, in a world with, what, 7 billion, almost 8 billion people now?
Yeah.
What's the chances that there isn't someone who's taken it a step farther than you?
Well, and if you are at the forefront of that, you've just proven to the world that it's doable. So more people are going to catch you and surpass you immediately.
Like, that's the thing about Ephemeral Remy as a character. It's inspiration for someone to go farther than that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I know that. Like, I know that me as this extreme example is for its time. You know what I mean? Like, for the moment, that's extreme.
Yeah.
But it won't be tomorrow. Like, tomorrow, you'll see another guy who will take that mantle, and then he'll run the ball somewhere else, kind of thing. And I'm not saying I'm the only one, but, like, in Canada, and where we live, probably.
Yep.
Like, I don't know anyone else around here that's pushing this way.
Yep.
Like, other ways, sure. But, like, this, from this perspective. Because, like, people are always thinking that I'm living in an area where this might be more condoned or more accessible.
Yeah. That's one of those interesting things. Like, and I like the podcast thing that we're doing because of that. Because, like, the vibe of you, in terms, not vibe of, but the projected image of you online leaves a lot of, like, you would think almost that you're in some sort of spot that would be purely, like, heavy mod, or, like, the exact counter. You know what I mean? Like, there's this narrative that can be put around you that, like, you live in some sort of biblical commune and you're the outcast, or you're in this world of heavily modified people and you're the pinnacle of it, or whatever. But you know, the reality of where we are and how you came to this process and things like that, I think is its own interesting story.
Yeah.
Like, as much as it's fun to have other people believe their own narrative about you.
I love the crazy beliefs. Like, people will see me as this satanic figure.
Yeah.
And then people will see me as like a Black Lives Matter supporter, or like just like almost assigned identities.
Yeah.
And the thing is I'm indifferent to almost all of this. And on a religious or beliefs kind of spectrum, I don't necessarily disbelieve in God or anything. Like, I'm very agnostic, but I'm cynical of everything. So, like, I'll be cynical of atheism too.
Yeah, of course.
Because I think it's silly to just say, nah, there can't be anything else.
Yeah.
Who knows what there is?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, like, an ism in terms of certainty, I always find is pretty interesting. Like, if you're certain of anything, you shouldn't be.
Yeah,
like,
who really knows?
We have no idea what's going on.
We're this big.
Yeah.
We're like this big.
Yep.
On a cosmic level, we have no idea what's happening.
Yeah, we can theorize. And I love theories. I love theories.
Yeah.
Because, like, I don't know, I just like theories are I mean, I think it served a purpose back in the day of survival, like, because if you theorized something and were right, you lived.
Yeah.
If you theorized and you were wrong, you died. So, but, like, I find it very interesting that we project a certain era of certainty in so many different areas. And even the idea of, atheism, I always find a kind of an adorable thing, because, like, okay, you can believe that there is absolutely nothing, but you're still believing.
Yeah.
You have no idea.
Yeah, I can't subscribe to it. I find it too mean-spirited in a way.
I think it can be. I think any of them can be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And I came from a heavily religious background, and any of my, like, back in the day, I was very certain about things because I think I was afraid that I was wrong. You know what I mean? Like, I had a fear around the idea of being wrong, and so therefore I had to project certainty outward and to myself. Not that I think I was malicious or anything, but I definitely thought I was right. And,
sure.
You know what I mean? And, like, I think that type of thinking that you're right and everyone else is wrong, that's so, it can be harmful.
It's a really youthful thing to do, I think. And I think that age is supposed to beat that out of us.
That's fair.
You're supposed to see yourself being wrong throughout history.
But
at times.
But
I think.
I completely agree. I think that's the thing that it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But we don't see that often.
No.
It's strange to me. Like, I think, like, as you get older, I think we're supposed to kind of see things as ourselves a little bit more. Like, can see each other in a more human way. But it almost seems like if you have that certainty and you spend your life nurturing that certainty, that it hardens over time almost. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like what goes on in the southern states thing that's going on, and we're just watching from afar, being like, ugh, what's happening?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I feel like people should get kinder as we get older. But
or at the very least more accommodating of difference. Like,
sure, yeah.
Like, because I always think, like I've said it before, that they say don't judge a man till you've walked a mile in his shoes or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think that the maturation of that thought is once you've walked enough in your own shoes, you don't need to judge another man by a mile in his shoes, because you've walked enough in your own life to know that people do things for all kinds of reasons. Like, a lot of us are doing what we're doing just to stay alive.
Yep.
Like, it's, even if you don't like what that person's doing, don't assume that they're doing it for malicious reasons or evil reasons. Like, they're just doing their best. Like, people are just doing their best to get through life a lot of the time. Like, it's often the case that what we think about what they're doing isn't why they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so like I said, oh, well, the black skin and it's this thing, or I've had it, people are like, oh, it's the void. Like, he's getting rid of everything because he's nihilistic or something, right? Like, it's the void. Like, I've had people reference me in that way, where I'm this icon of nothingness, which I kind of actually like that one.
I mean, that's poetic.
The most poetic one that fits the best for me.
Yeah.
It's less of a satanic pursuit or Black Lives Matter pursuit or that kind of thing, and more it would be more going that direction. But it's not that either.
So, like, the thing I do find interesting, though, is, like, people view, I guess this is true for anybody, but when seeing people view you through their eyes, like, through their lens of how they view the world, like, the people that look at you and think, oh, he's some sort of demonic figure,
sure.
Like, they can't see you through anything else other than what their view of the world is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like the ability to see you as Jeremy, a normal dude who's got a family and all this stuff. Like, they see this and they see whatever projection they're giving you as your identity.
Yeah, even on pictures with my wife or my son, because I started my Instagram as a private guy, right? And I just never dropped those elements of it.
No.
Like, the same way you would post a family picture to your Facebook, I've just kept doing that on my Instagram. Like, it's the same thing, because it was never worked in or added at any point. I just never stopped running my Instagram like a private page.
Well, I think that's the way to do it.
I'm a human being.
Yeah.
A lot of people go, oh, you can't succeed if you include your family and stuff. You got to be professional model shots and stuff. I'm just a guy. Like, this is my life. Here it is. If you like it, you like. And so people won't refrain from making those kinds of comments, even on pictures with your family involved. And I'm always like, who's the real villain here?
Yeah.
Like, here's a picture of me with my son, and you've got people who are like, oh, I feel bad for that kid. Oh, like, did you kidnap him? Like, stuff like that. It's like, what is wrong with you? You're demented. Like, it's demented.
Well, it's failure to see humanity. Like, they can't see you as a human being like themselves. And that anytime I see displays of that, not that I'm perfect and I would fall into those categories at times and all that jazz, because obviously we're all human beings and we all fall prey to our biology and our wiring and all that stuff. But, like, I just, it kind of is a bit heartbreaking that that's what we can produce.
Well, and it's always, again, it's never in person. It's always online. And so
of course,
that always teaches me what people might actually be thinking, but would never say, right?
But, okay, so question on that.
Yeah.
Because my curiosity on that is, like, because you don't get that stuff in person. So are you a person in reality, and online are you an object?
Oh,
because
for sure.
People can critique an object to no end, right?
I'm I think less of a human and more of an example of, like, a type of person.
But this is my question, like, because the person would still have humanity, right?
Sure.
Attached to it. Whereas I feel like the thing on their phone is a thing. Like if people were to see this coffee table and they'd be like, "Oh, I don't like that shade of brown," and like, "Oh, there's these metal things on it. That's pretty stupid." Like, because you can critique an object because the object has no humanity to it, right?
Yeah.
And so what I'm wondering is like if it's a public figure, like a just a display of a public figure, are they then a coffee table to be critiqued,
Sure.
or are they a display of humanity?
I think it becomes very similar, and as I said, I think it's like you're less of a human with a name and a last name, and more of a entity that represents a type of person.
Okay.
Like now I'm the figurehead of people who do these things,
Right?
Or like in that moment I'm the figurehead of people with blackout tattoos or piercings or whatever, right? So less of just one of the people and more of here's a prominent figure in that community, and there's no way that I will ever meet this person or connect with them, so it doesn't really matter what I say to them.
Right.
It's not like there's going to ever be any kind of consequence for this.
Yep.
But as I said, the only thing I've learned from that part of it is like we are a changing world. Things are getting a lot easier for modified people, and I don't even know how much easier I want them to get.
Yeah, fair.
To be quite honest with you, like I'm not trying to nerf the world.
No.
So like I was on a rant about this the other day at work. I'm like, look, I grew up being the weirdo. I'm kind of proud of that. I don't want that to stop. I don't really want people to not be able to say what they want about me. Like if you think I look like a moron, it's your right to say that. But it's also my right to do that.
Yeah.
Like so what I would want in an ideal situation is, sure, here's the only thing that I would like to change. To some degree, equal opportunity in employment. Like, I would like it to be where you don't have to like how I look, but I do have a right to the job.
Yeah.
Right? But you don't have to like how I look, because you don't have to look that way either. But you're also allowed to say, hey, I don't like the way that guy looks. So if an employer really doesn't like how I look, maybe he doesn't have to give me a job. Well, like, there's some balance that has to be met there.
Like the irony of that is you're talking about like a socialist intervention to a capitalist option, right? Because like you have it's one of those things that like you have the right to work, which would be obvious.
Yep.
Now, if you had the government step in and say that you have the right to work because of your modifications or whatever, that would be the more social developed thing.
See,
but the idea of just giving you the job and letting the job develop, because like if you are good at your job and people enjoy what you do, the look thing will get sidelined.
It does.
That's just how it works.
Proof positive of it.
Yeah.
I have no worry about if I lost my job today. I could have employment within a few days.
Yeah.
I had one time where, in the last 5 years anyway, where I was dissatisfied with my job to the point where I was looking elsewhere. I took one interview and I was called immediately.
Yeah.
Get you in here. Like, can you start next week?
Yeah.
It was that fast. And it was about the same pay to walk in. Like, it was scary how quick it happened.
Yeah.
But that's because I've had such a good work history.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, it's immaculate.
Yeah, you're stable, man.
Yeah, and the list of responsibilities.
Yep.
It's like, this guy's ready to walk in and manage your business. And
you'll do a bang up job.
And then have the skill set to back it up when I get there too. So it was never like, oh, well, what am I gonna do if I ever screw this up? It's just more like, I've always said, if you're in a field, like, say you're working at McDonald's, don't quit McDonald's to go work at Burger King. Do you know what I mean? Like,
why not?
Well, it's just like, why not just stay at McDonald's at that rate? So that's why I've kept the same job, because unless it's an upgrade or a change, you know, just stay where you are.
Yeah.
Like, it's because it's going to be the same thing.
Well, I went the opposite way. I did a radical change.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Unless it's an upgrade or a change.
Yeah.
Right? Because you said, it was a radical change. You went from one world into another world. I wouldn't want to go from the same world to the same world.
That's fair, man. Like, yeah, I mean, if I was still in like sales and all that stuff, it would be I to stay in the sales industry, but like say because I used to work at a guitar store or that kind of thing. So if I were to just move from one to the other, that would be a bummer.
Right. You're going to find the same problems.
Yes.
You're going to be the same person there as you were at the last place.
Yeah.
And
yeah, you're not wrong about that. But yeah, that's one of the interesting things about, I don't know where our society is going with all of this stuff. Because, I mean, the COVID thing has definitely upset the apple cart for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think a lot of things change over the next little while, which is going to be, a lot of people are really, and myself included, before I changed industries, a lot of people are very scared of change.
Yeah.
And understandably so. Change is very, very scary. When you have something that you've been in for a long time and you're secure at it and you feel good, and to have that potentially taken away or lost not because of something you did is not exactly a fair thing to most people.
Yeah.
And puts a lot of people in a stressful situation that they've never had to do on their own. Like there's a difference if you want to do it and you're going to jump and you're going to make the change and it's you doing it.
No one likes being pushed onto the side.
No, it's a hard place to be. But I don't know. I can see it being good for a lot of people too in the long run.
Well, I consider I was off for 2 months, but in the grand scheme, I'm not accepting that. I don't accept that as part of my history. I was not unemployed in my mind. I didn't lose my job. I didn't ask for this.
Yeah.
They forced me off. Yeah. That's not part of my history as a person. I was never laid off as far as my grand scheme goes.
Yeah.
That's not something I'm allowing to think on in my... When I look back as an old man, I'm not going to remember that as part of my life as, I was laid off for 2 months. No, I wasn't laid off. I would have never been. So I was forced.
Here's a question for you, because this is something that kind of goes through my head. So if the closure thing didn't happen, if we didn't get forced into 2 months off, so if you were still working there and the COVID thing was happening, but none of the shutdown happened, do you think your business would have remained successful? Or do you think people would have been too scared to go?
Well, the last few weeks, it was getting pretty dark, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It was, what we had was vagrants and old people who didn't give a crap. That's what we had coming in. We had a lot of vagrants, and I mean, people who didn't know what was happening.
Yeah.
People who had no idea, and if they did know, they wouldn't care.
Mm-hmm.
And then old people who were resistant to change.
Yeah.
And sales were way down.
Yeah.
So it was almost my bosses were keeping the doors open just for their favorite employees to make a living, right? And then you were scrambling to do things to try and look busy, and it was a lot. How can we keep this going when it's? I think we laid off 15 people right away, and then it was just the last 5 people were still around until it was finally said, okay, now you have to close. The government said you have to close.
Yeah.
And then that's when they pulled the trigger, right? They were willing to go the distance, and they needed to make a very small, for us, amount of money to stay open.
Yep.
But obviously, it wasn't possible. So I don't know how it would have gone long run. I think it would have continued like that. It would have been really
I don't know. I think it would have been a couple weeks, and then I feel like it would have normalized a little bit.
Because, well, you become the last bastion at some point, right?
Yeah.
Hey, they're still cooking over there.
They're
there's still food. There's still food.
I can still get eggs.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. I mean, we're in a bit of a different industry, the tattoo thing. We obviously our BC location closed down before we did, so we kind of knew it was coming. But right up until the last day, still people beating down the door to try and get tattoos.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things that it was unique because I saw how it was going to affect everybody else, but it was one of those oh, everybody still wants to get tattooed though. That's interesting. You'd
think that would be the first thing that they'd stop caring.
That's what
about.
Everybody would think, right?
Right.
Because it is a luxury item.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not an essential service, is what they would call it.
We've been living with some expectation of luxury, though.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Societally, we definitely do.
Luxury is very kin to our expectations at this point.
Well, and I mean, you see it with skip the dishes. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, people might not want to go to restaurants, but they damn sure don't want to cook still.
Yeah.
Like, they want people to bring them their food, and that's how it works.
One of the things I found funny was flour was out at like every grocery store. It's like, you're not going to start baking now.
Who's baking sourdough, really?
You're going to have friggin' bugs living in that in your cupboard. Like, that's what's going to happen to that flour.
Yeah.
You're not using that. Don't kid yourself.
I mean, I wish I was competent enough to bake and
well, and see, I always have baked, so
yeah, I guess you're set.
Yeah, like I was fine with that, but like I went to get my routine flour, and there was like just not even long ago, and it's still gone.
Yeah,
the flour is gone all over the place, still here.
Oh, weird stuff's gone too.
Yeah,
like things that you're like, what? But also, it's production problems.
Yeah.
If a factory shut down for 2 weeks, that really messes up everything down the line. We're running into that with tattoo stuff. There's lots of different brands and distributors and stuff that I've had to switch because I can't get them.
I think we'll be into that for years, potentially, just randomly out of different things. But, yeah. To get way back to my point about people, I think they should be allowed to attack me for the way I look or whatever, right? Because I wanted to finish up one point of that was I think that should always be okay. People should always be able to say what they want, but at the same time, I should be allowed to do that. Like I said, now I've grown up living that way and kind of being bullied a little bit for being weird or whatever, and it's kind of like I feel like I triumphed over that.
Yeah,
and I feel like that makes it harder, but also better when you succeed or when you make it. When I made this identity over that in the end, over the thing that I was being bullied or called the weird kid or whatever for, and then you become this champion of that thing, there's this pride that you get, and I don't think you get that if you take that strife away from it. I think that then it's just too easy.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you for sure.
And then the other thing is like when I was talking about people getting their lips cut out, like their scalpeled or whatever, piercing stretched to abnormal sizes really quick. If you're not living with that day to day where people are reacting to you differently and you just suddenly make a big leap like that, it might seem like a lot real quick, right?
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden you go to a job interview and you don't get it, and then you're, oh, well, it was because of this thing. Yeah, it was because of that thing. Because you were applying to be on the storefront and you have a giant hole in your lip, and now it's someone else's fault, and you didn't take time to appreciate what would happen, right?
Yeah.
Or like you didn't get used to the reactions people are going to give you that way, right? And I know it's topic change, but I really feel like I really wanted to get that in, is that you should be responsible for what you're doing to yourself. You can't expect the world to adapt to you.
Yep.
You have to adapt to it. So that's why I prefer the long method of getting there over time.
Well, I think that goes with I mean, these are also the things where I say these things and then I think, oh, I might just being an old man. But like when, like tattoos have a progression that I'm used to, you know what I mean? And I noticed that the younger generation is jumping to areas that like 10 years ago, we weren't like, you wouldn't go into a shop and ask for a face tattoo if you had no other tattoos. And now, I think it's because of the pop characters that are out there doing it.
Yeah. They got more face tattoos than actual tattoos on their body.
Oh man, the amount of like throat and neck and hand and face tattoos that I get asked about from people that have almost no ink it's a lot. It's way more than I thought it would be. And you can see it as like the generations kind of go on. That it obviously it's progressing and becoming more normal for them. But if you're going to go and put something right here with nothing else on your body, that's going to be jarring to any job that you're going to go to.
I think too, here, and this may just be my speculation, but me going into an interview with as much work as I have versus a guy going into an interview with just one big face tattoo, guess who looks way more competent?
Yeah.
Right. Yep. This guy's got some dedication. This guy's just, who knows what he's up to.
Yeah.
Like, why has this guy got a face tattoo? He has nothing else.
Well, and it can, to an older generation, what it can seem like is it can seem like a mistake or a bad decision, whereas what you're doing is obviously intentional.
Obviously intentional, a lot of depth
and,
there.
And it's a lot of commitment, and like those are those things that like I wouldn't be surprised if older generations see what you do and go, that guy's got dedication.
Yeah, no, this is what so when I first got my throat tattoo, and I honestly love my boss, like the woman that ran my job from day one. She's not around quite as much as she used to be, but when I first got my first throat tattoo, she looks at me and she's like a little bit disgusted with it. She's like, "You're gonna want to grow a real heavy beard one day." And I was like, "Well, I can't grow a beard, so I guess I'm screwed."
Yeah.
Right? But like she didn't like, I don't want you here anymore or anything like that. But like, it was clear she didn't like it. But as time has gone on, and she was actually at my wedding. Her and her husband came to my wedding.
Yeah.
But like for her, it's become a different thing with me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, God, you've got some dedication. Like you've got, like, it's just such a responsible thing in her eyes, where it's like, love it or hate it, like he's very dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Like, and when you see someone doing it for that long with that much effort and commitment, it's just, it becomes a different thing.
Yep.
That's what people can't see when they look at something necessarily, when you know someone in that lifestyle versus when you just see a picture of them online.
Yeah.
You're getting a different story.
Yeah, you're getting the probably a more accurate story.
Well, especially when you consider these people knew me since I was very young and didn't have any tattoos, and they watched pierced. All of this stuff develop. Yeah, I started there with piercings.
Yeah,
they watched the first suit come together, then they watched me tattoo over it, and the progression of it is just, it's intense.
Yeah, and it's fast too.
Yeah,
like, you worked fast.
I worked fast, and it's like it just becomes a different thing.
Yep.
Right? Like, so like I said, if I were an employer looking at people coming in, just from a dedication standpoint, if you've got one face tattoo versus a whole body of work, and maybe you have some face tattoos, the guy who has the whole body of work has clearly spent a lot of time and a lot of hours, a lot of money, dedication there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's a different thing.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things about a lot of tattoos. Your commitment level is so much. It's just so much. You have so much time, so much money, so much pain invested in it. And like, I do feel like tattoos are in the zeitgeist enough that even people that have no familiarity with it at least understand that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because back in the day, if you were a heavily tattooed guy, I don't know, it was like this foreign thing that nobody really understood or saw in the mainstream, or there was no TV shows about it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It wasn't on.
There's too many now.
Yeah. There's a lot, but like, I don't know. I feel like the progression has happened in a way that makes it easier for people to digest if they have no experience with it.
Some things are still very arcane, like a TikTok video I posted of one of my clips that I did here last week when I was getting my right thigh blacked out.
Yeah.
And one of the dumbest comments is, yeah, I get how you're paying for all this, is the tattoo artist is just covering up all his mistakes, right? I'm like, obviously I didn't respond, but all I can think is my brain just goes into overload even trying to process what has just been said.
Yeah.
Like, where in reality is that happening? Like, what tattoo artist is like, I know I screwed up your entire body. Let me black it out for free.
You. Here we go. Let's do it.
And then it's like, if this guy was dumb enough to screw up all your first tattoos, how is he competent enough to black them all out and get them consistent? Like, it's just, my brain almost explodes trying to think of the gymnastics that goes on in these people's heads sometimes.
Well, I think they view... Those people would be of an understanding that they think it's like redacting a document where you put a Sharpie over it and it's easy.
Yeah.
They don't understand that doing a Blackout project is really hard.
It's
like your skill level has to be quite up there in order to accomplish it well.
I wish someone said that to me in person. I would just like I don't know what I would even say to that.
Yeah.
But they would never like that would never happen in person, right?
But this is what I mean. Like that stuff is just like he's commenting it on as if you are just a thing, that you're not a human. And that is, and I mean, maybe that is the case for some people where they get their account to a certain level and it's no longer
oh man,
there's no longer a human element to it.
I have to tell the story because it's become a meme for my own life. Is TikTok always the septic? Like it's sewer. It's sewage. There's nothing decent there ever. Yeah. And I don't even my content on TikTok is even junk. It's just shit. I post garbage on there and people comment garbage and I don't tend to do it. It's just overflowing.
Yeah.
And it's like 630,000 now.
Ugh, insane.
It's insane. It's just a pile of crap.
That's insane.
But this girl comments, I would never dated a thing like that. Right? And her comment got like 10,000 likes because the video was like viral. It's like 38 million views.
What in the world?
But I made a video response to it because it was such a popular comment. And I told her, I said, "Don't worry, sweetheart. I wouldn't date you either. I'm happily married for so-and-so years, you know." And I've got like this shit-eating grin on my face. Yeah. And then that video went viral, and her comment is still getting replies. And she's like coming back and battling people who are...
Oh, man. Like, don't ever do that.
Because people are... It's not a thing. He's a human. And like people are defending me.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Like, but then they're also bashing me, and it's become this whole like...
Oh, my God.
I'll get like... Probably even still, that video is like 3 months old, and I'll still get hundreds of notifications where people are commenting on that comment.
Wow. That's terrifying.
That'll probably be and I don't mean to sound rude or pompous, but it might be the most interesting thing she ever does with her life is commenting that from a social media standpoint.
Yeah, in terms of engagement.
In terms of engagement, there's nothing she'll ever get more from than that.
Oh, that's crazy. That's like, those are, when I think about that in terms of, like, because a lot of people will view that and they'll just see numbers and it's like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But like,
it's insane.
The sheer volume of individuals that are engaging in those things, that's terrifying.
It's a dumpster fire.
That's so many.
Like, and then people will be, people. If you I've nothing nice to say about my TikTok ever. Yeah. And people are like, "So why do you do it then?" I'm like, "Well, when you have 630,000 on TikTok, what's the chance that at least some of those people are following you on Instagram now?" Yeah. Right? It's all about getting traction.
Like the game of that and like the growing of the platform, that stuff I totally respect. I just think about the number of people, because like what's the largest crowd you've been in front of?
Oh, I mean, I used to sing karaoke at Average Joe's.
Oh, there you go.
That's it.
It's like the volume of people that are engaging and seeing you, and like people don't understand that. That's a level of, you'll never see that anywhere else.
No.
You'll never see that. You'll never be able to see like, 38 million people watch this thing in a room, or like in one, like that's more than the country that we're in. That's more people than we have in Canada watch that.
Yeah.
Like that's silly. That's a crazy reach.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, they don't all go like that, but I've had several that have been over 10 million views.
Oh, man.
Like it's almost like what does that mean?
Well, it becomes a level where, like, I'm sure that's like your like why Joe Rogan doesn't look at his stats, because like it's just numbers. Like, what's up? Like those levels of numbers are not something that I think we're really able to understand. It has to become a number at some point in time. It can't be like you view it as people.
Well, like I said, I went through that video and I didn't look at many of the comments, but the ones that got the most likes, I was like, since this is a trending video, the appropriate thing to do is to make a few response videos to it.
Right.
Because they're just going to go more viral, right?
Yeah.
Because it's something that a lot of people have seen, and they'll be,
more likely to comment.
Yeah, I would never dated a thing like that.
That's pretty good.
The broken English really helps it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And then everyone's coming in, but the negativity that inspires too. Sometimes I've stopped almost wanting to do like I have the gag reel on my Instagram where it's things that people have said and then my quirky responses or whatever. But I'm getting into the point now where I don't want to do that anymore because what ends up happening is these people get mobbed sometimes, and then I feel worse about it in the end. Where it's like, I don't really want to, like, because that girl's comment, her physical appearance is getting attacked, and
yeah, of course.
How could you, like, you're not that great yourself there, lady, like, and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, come on, she's having fun.
At the same time, now, I just look at that and I think in terms of, like, if you were to take that idea and you were to put that in a real location, and you were to make the numbers a little bit different. But say you're out with some people at a bar, right? And someone comes up and shit talks you.
I would never dated a thing like that.
Well, and you're surrounded by people that are there for you, right? Like these are people that are in your sphere. In real life, if that person goes up to that sphere, all of your people would engage with that person, and it would be an encounter where that would inform their experience, and they would go, oh, maybe I shouldn't say things like that to people because of the reaction that it garnered.
Maybe I should dated a thing like that.
Yeah, I should dated a thing like that. But like, you know, those negative experiences, although they seem crazy, it informs her from now on. Yeah. Right? Like this is like, okay, I've had a negative reaction to the thing that I thought I was free to do, right? And not that I like it, not that I like any of it. It seems very like
this is how we learn,
right? It's like information, right?
Yeah.
Like she's now gotten information
to think that way.
Yeah, she can say and think that way, but there's going to be a consequence to it.
Yep.
And like as long as that consequence isn't too crazy, I think it's good to inform oneself about what is acceptable and not acceptable behavior.
There comes a point on my Instagram, for example, now where I don't have to raise a word to defend myself anymore.
Yeah.
Because somebody's coming and doing it. Like, I'll have a person come in and go, he's too nice to tell you this, but you're a such and such, right?
Yeah.
Like, he won't tell you because he's nice, but you're this. And I'm like, so I got to this point now, and I'm like, it's losing its flavor for me to even have these arguments because I feel almost bad for them when they start.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I know it's going to go. And maybe that's what they're looking for. Maybe they're just looking for an argument with someone. Who knows?
Could be.
They're going to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, people do crazy things on the internet to garner a reaction. And sometimes the reaction they're looking for is to have a fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that they've got pent-up aggression or whatever it is, and they're looking to poke a hornet's nest, I guess.
People will ask me if there's ever times when it bothers me. And I think the worst time for me to check my phone is when I first wake up.
Yeah, of course.
Because like I'm not my persona isn't on yet, right? I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
So like if I read something nasty first thing in the morning, it can put me in a bit of a bad spin.
Yeah.
But like other than that, it never touches me. So I've got a rule now where I get all my stuff done before I even look at any of my social media.
Wise.
Like I get up, I have my breakfast, I do my workout, I get ready for work or whatever. And then I'll go through because like I don't want to get sidelined by something and then I'm spending mental energy on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, what's up?
Going.
Hey guys.
Morning.
So yeah, that's become a practice for me because I was noticing like last year it was kind of putting me on the rocks sometimes.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I wasn't as seasoned with this yet, and so I was like, sometimes, and then that's a bad way to start.
Yeah, it's a unfortunate start to a day at that point in time.
Well,
write that day off.
I don't think people are supposed to live this way, right?
No,
I don't think people are supposed to be being attacked randomly all the time by people they don't even know.
That means nowhere is safe.
Yeah.
Like you have no safe place to go back to. You have no home because like your home can be a malicious attack.
Yeah.
Because your phone is there.
Yeah, you're
that's
always
crazy.
There's always a chance that someone could say something awful.
Yeah.
Someone could wish cancer on you at any minute.
Yeah.
Someone might not dated you any minute.
Yeah, you might not date it. But like,
I'm sorry, I love that one.
That's great. You should put that on a shirt.
I would never dated a thing like that.
I would never dated a thing like that. But like, it just makes it so you're potentially in battle everywhere you go. And I wonder if that's like part of the crazy anxiety, depression thing that's going on right now, where it's like you have no place that's literally safe. You're always out in the battlefield.
That's where they say bullying at school is worse than ever, and I'm like, it's
Because it
not.
follows you home.
But when I'm naive approach to it, it's like it's not worse. It was always bad. I mean, it might have been worse because people could be nastier with less consequences. But the problem is, I'm not taking into account that those people will keep bullying you long after school is over now, where they couldn't before.
Yeah, like if you were done school and you were getting bullied at school, you're done school, you can relax.
Yeah.
Because that's not following you home. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
It follows you home. It's horrible.
Yeah. And it's almost like kindergarten politics, right?
Yeah.
Because then who's popular on social media might end up being more popular in school too.
Yeah, well, of course.
Because
you'll have numbers to prove it, right?
Sarah and I have talked about this with Ivan. Like, if when he gets a social media, he's gonna start a leg up. Now, does that make him the cool kid, or does that hurt him? Like, what does that do? Because I have to think about that too. Is like, he's gonna be the son of someone who's not famous but has a platform, right?
Yeah.
So he'll get a bump, same as Sarah has. She's got a bigger platform than she had like 300 followers or something, but in proximity to me, she's almost 4,000 now.
Oh yeah.
And she's just a private account. Like she's not like looking to be anything huge. Mm-hmm. But it just happens, right?
Yep.
So Ivan will have that same benefit, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how that affects his life. Like, it's a weird... We didn't have to think this way when we were young.
No. And I mean, like, we're having to think this way fast.
Yeah.
Like, really fast. We're having to come up with years of analysis on something that we've had for 10 years. Maybe less.
Yeah.
Like, when was Instagram? 2012?
Yeah, I think Instagram was 2011, 2012.
Yeah. Like, we're at a place where stuff is moving so much faster than we're able to keep up with it. And I don't know. I don't think you put the genie back in the bottle. I just don't think you can.
That's why I'm trying to stay on the cusp as much as I can. Like, because I always say these people reading newspapers every day, like, you're done. Like, that's it. If you can't transition, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah.
So I don't like TikTok, but I know what's happening right now. Yeah. TikTok, they tried to make Instagram Reels, but TikTok is like the big new thing right now. Who knows what it'll be next week or next year, but I want to be on that too. I want to keep staying aware of what's happening so that I can at least kind of try and keep pace with what's happening in my own way.
Well, and we these things aren't going away. So if you want to be able to speak the language in any way, shape, or form, you kind of have to understand it.
And really, I'm an old man already in this world.
Oh man, I feel honestly, I didn't think I would feel that old, but the that's why I always say, like, am I saying things that are old manny? Because like I view the thought process as so different because we grew up in a time where this stuff didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And looking at a generation like my nephew or my nephews and nieces and all that, like, they're in a time that they've never not had it. Like, they were, like, they've grown up in it only. And so when I have conversations with them about it, it's like they know nothing outside of that.
Yeah.
And for me, I've been able to see a world without that. And so, like, I can't unsee that. I can't not compare it to the two. So it just makes me feel like that generation gap hits so quickly.
And we have no prior built-up resistance to it because a couple generations ago, it was the difference of we had TV versus we didn't.
Yeah.
Now it's, we're living online versus physical.
Well, we have a bit of resistance because we know what things are outside of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we can think, oh, I'll just detach. I'll shut off my phone. I'll read a book. Like, because we've got all these things that we can compare it to and go back into as almost a respite from it. Whereas, like, kids that have only done this, they don't have those same tools unless we show them. But
I think that's where parents should step in a little bit and decide parameters.
Oh man,
like Ivan he has a phone, but he can only use it certain times.
Yeah.
He doesn't have social media. Like, if I'll post a picture of him, I'm not tagging him in it. You know what I mean? When he's 16, 18, who knows? But like, some people have phones and they're like 8.
Yeah.
I've seen like 8-year-olds with Facebook profiles.
Oh yeah.
It's like,
I've seen 2-year-olds using iPads.
What the hell?
Like, they can't really talk, but they can iPad just fine.
And when you realize what you can find very easily, it's like, I think it's like a lethal weapon.
It's information overload for sure.
In a kid's hands, it's a lethal weapon. It's a lethal weapon in anyone's hands if you know how to use it. But like you can supercharge your development, I think, in certain ways that you shouldn't.
Oh, I completely agree.
Like, what if imagine this, because we tell kids, about the Santa Claus and Easter Bunny and stuff. Now a kid can go and Google, is Santa Claus real?
Is Santa Claus real? 100%.
Where when I was young, it was my older brothers who were like, don't be an idiot. Of course it's not real. No fat man could walk around on your roof and slide down your chimney, right? Like, it was, you got the same answer, but it was in a humanistic way.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm just going to Google this, figure out, hey, Santa Claus isn't real. My parents are bringing me those gifts.
Yeah.
Like.
And like, I don't know. Maybe that's better. I don't know. It's probably not.
I don't know. Me and my son always go and see Santa Claus.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't believe in him.
Yeah.
I know he doesn't, but he hasn't admitted it yet, and I like that.
Well, I also think that he likes everything surrounding it. So why would you?
Sure.
Why would you say like, oh, I don't want to?
It's a great tradition we've been doing since he was first born. Every year we go and sit on Santa Claus's lap, and it's always the same Santa Claus. We get the Santa picture.
Nice.
And he recognizes us every time, right?
Yeah.
He's always, oh, you've done a lot of work since last time I seen you. Right? Like, he remembers the way I look, and he notes the changes and stuff, and we each get a candy cane, and it's a great time.
And then you use the candy cane to put it through your lip, and it goes viral on TikTok.
Sure. That's,
Santa Claus enables you.
I think I'm going to do those pictures with him until he decides it's stupid. And I'm hoping that we can be doing it all the way up until he's 18.
Oh man, he should do it all the way until he's like 30. He should just lean into it.
Eventually, it's just 2 dudes.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even.
I think it'd be awesome.
It's not even father and son necessarily anymore. It's, hey, 2 guys with Santa.
Yeah, just 2 guys with Santa. We've been doing this for 30 years.
And even Santa's like, it's getting a bit old, guys.
That Santa retired long ago.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we stop when that Santa retires. I think it's like, we don't want a different Santa. We want the same Santa.
Yeah.
Like, because it's been the same. He's like, he worked with my stepdad, actually. My stepdad knows the guy who does it. And it's pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it's a little sad that that magic that we kind of lived with when we were young is very easily dispelled these days.
Yeah.
If you know how. Like, it's, as a kid, most kids have tablets, like you said.
Yep.
Or phones. And then if they have access to the internet, they have access to anything that could disprove all of that junk.
Yep.
It's just not the same.
Yeah. They have little miracle boxes in their pockets. It's weird. The fact that we can just ask and have whatever answer. That also, to me, was one of those, like, okay, so then school. What does school look like? You can ask the mythical Siri teacher to tell you whatever it is that you want to know.
Yeah.
So, what's the point?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna live in a place where
imagine being the one having to write the curriculum that incorporates this in a coherent way that's instructive.
Yeah.
Right?
And, like, actually works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because, like, that's the other side of it. It's like, school needs to teach something. And if we all have these little answer boxes, then what is it teaching you?
I think maybe we should be teaching people how to think and why to think, right?
How to think for themselves, yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people are just getting answers without doing any of the process now.
Well, and, like, the difficulty of, there's a lot of different answers out there now. People are allowed to say whatever answer as though it's fact.
Yeah, that's what I was saying the other day to a friend. You can't, because, like, if you want an argument to be correct, there's enough information for any side of it. Oh, yeah,
you can support it no matter what. And, like, the way that it used to be, like, I feel like there's a genuine misunderstanding of the scientific process of, things grow and evolve, and our understanding of them grows and evolves as we challenge them and create new ways to figure out what works and what doesn't. And I don't know, it leaves a lot of open-ended questions that I don't think people are really comfortable with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and like we really like security and firm answers and facts and stuff like that, but like our understanding of things grows and evolves as we get better at looking at them. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you were lied to. That doesn't mean that everything is a simulation and make-believe, and like, but our brains aren't, or at least we haven't been taught in school to look at those types of situations that way.
Yeah, we should be teaching people how to be analytical and how to dig deeper and figure out what works.
Well, even just like understanding that there are different types of people, like psychopaths exist. I feel like that's
more
something that we don't
stuff.
Talk about ever, like psychopaths and sociopaths and different people that exist in the world and become successful and do crazy things.
And also another thing that I think we should be teaching people about is how to pay their bills. And,
oh my God, yes.
And
what a credit card
taxes
means.
And
what a mortgage is.
Yeah. Skills that will help prepare you for life.
Oh man, it would be brilliant.
Yeah.
But then again, like, if you really need to know, you could probably YouTube it.
You can, but again, it's I can go and YouTube anything, but how do I get my gears in that direction?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because right now I could Google how your pants were made, for example, but why would I? Like,
poorly.
So we need to decide what is important, and then teach that, because there's certain things that sure you could figure out how those pants are made, but unless there's like somebody who really, really wants to know, you know what I mean? And I think there's some things that everybody should have to know, like paying your bills, like knowing what credit cards are, mortgages, like that kind of stuff. That should be fundamental human learning.
I actually don't understand why more pragmatic things weren't given more of an emphasis. Like,
I don't know if we want us to know that stuff. It seems like we want to be getting people in debt.
I understand, and sure, there could be that type of malicious thing, but like most things they come from innocent origins, and then they're used incorrectly to
yes, never blame malevolence for what you could blame ignorance.
Yes.
Right.
And like, so I don't know. I just think that like it was probably easier to develop a curriculum around really tangible things. Like, math is a very tangible thing that you can measure right or wrong in. You can do things that are structural, and you can analyze the structure, whereas like the creative elements are far harder to like critical thinking is technically a creative way of doing things, right? Like, it's less about like you can only think this way, which critical thinking in itself would be really hard to grade.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it was almost more out of ease for things that could be measured. You know what I mean? Like, you can do a history paper, and it's like, oh, either you read the book and can regurgitate it back correctly compared to the book, or you can't.
What if we did like a simulation throughout the year of kids were given a certain amount of money, right, that they could spend on a break here or there, and then the ones that budgeted well would still have some left at the end of the year, versus some would go into the deficit.
Yeah.
Like, we could just have that as like throughout the year they're running this alongside the curriculum, and you get better reports for how much time you have left or whatever.
Yeah.
Like some kind of a way to teach about saving.
Saving, stock market,
budgeting,
mortgages, bills, compound interest.
I'm not saying stop teaching that math and science and stuff, but maybe work in a way to teach about responsibility.
Well, I wish I had taken that other than calculus. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Like, if I had learned what a credit card was when I was young, that would have been sweet.
Because it just seems like
free money. They just gave me one, and I was like, hey, okay,
look at
sweet.
This. Here's a couple $1,000.
Yeah, awesome. I'll take all that.
Yeah.
I have to pay you back?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The whole thing is it's very interesting. I'm curious as to how it develops, because I think technology has changed a lot of things, and I think the rest of the industry around it is slow to change.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what it looks like in 10 years. Do we just abandon schools and buildings? Does it become online entirely?
Well, that's what's like the big argument for online college, right?
Yeah.
And without the classroom, you
Yeah.
just listen to the instructor.
Yeah,
And
but pay just as much.
But how much less money do they spend?
Oh,
You know what I mean?
exorbitantly less.
Like it's probably the way everything's going to go.
Yeah.
Eventually.
Well, just even the idea of an office, like for things that don't require a physical space, I can't imagine people seeing this and going, "Oh, well, we can just have people work at home. Great."
Right.
And then that saves us on having to buy a building, and okay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I can't not assume that people would see the logic in that and just go, "Okay,
That's
well, I
what
guess no
that's what I
more
said
buildings."
about my biggest takeaway from COVID is like there's no way that companies aren't looking at it going, we sent a bunch of people home and we ran.
Yeah. Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like there's no way that people weren't looking at that going, do we really need all these people working?
Yep.
We could surely save some money and
Oh, yeah.
not have so many people.
Well, I mean, like this, there's an accounting firm down the block here, and the only time they're in is if they get people to sign forms.
Yeah.
Everything else, ever since COVID started, they haven't been here. And it's like, oh, so your whole business didn't need to be here.
Yeah, and it just takes that realizing it.
Yeah, you needed to meet at a Tim Hortons to get a signature. That's what you needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like-
you don't need this building.
Yeah, like you don't really need it. You can all have a home office, and that is what it is.
So then what do we put in that space? Do we
I-
put anything there?
I mean,
More housing?
affordable housing would be the best
'Cause
bet.
we're growing still.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, like, or just different business, something that would actually require a physical location, and then you make the
I think less and less because I just seen this trending video my wife showed me of this cute Asian restaurant where they don't have servers anymore, and it's like it's all dolled up and it's this sweet video of people sitting around like in a circle around the kitchen. The kitchen is walled off and there's just these little like chutes, and you just punch in your order on a tablet, and then where you're sitting, the cook places your meal. And I'm like, yeah, this is really cute, except look how many people they don't employ anymore.
Yeah, legit.
It suddenly takes on a darker meaning when you realize like how many people lost their jobs so that you could make this cute video.
Yeah, I mean but I mean that's gonna keep going.
Yeah,
And
of course.
that happens as efficiency.
Because eventually those
goes up.
cooks that are placing the meals are robots.
Mhm.
And then there's no one working there anymore. One
Just
guy.
people to maintain the robot.
Yeah, one guy is running the whole system.
Yeah.
He's turning the lights on.
Well, and like the idea of, I don't, like, I think jobs can, like, obviously things change. We've gone through massive changes in technology that have changed industries entirely for a long time now. But I just think those changes happen faster and faster now.
Yep.
And I think it's to a place where if you listen to the UBI people, they kind of think, well, it's going faster than what we can handle, so
We
we
gotta
just
get
gotta
this in.
we just
Start-
got to
we
get
start-
people getting paid.
We got to start doing it before it's too late.
Yeah.
But then there's the resistance of how do we do it? Where do we pay for it? You know.
I mean, yeah, there's a way of doing it, because like all of a sudden all the industries that start losing human jobs pay more tax, and then therefore that tax gets dispersed to the people that should have just had jobs in the first place. Because I don't know, I don't want to sit around and do nothing and get
Neither
paid.
do I.
I hate that idea.
Neither do I.
Like I know there's some people that want it and would love it, but
I was
it
talking
would
to a
drive me
guy
insane.
at work the other day, and he was like, so theoretically, if you made enough money just being Remy doing photos, do you need to work? And I was like, yeah, I do need to work. Well, why? Because I don't want to sit around and be a bum.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Well, I mean,
Even if I didn't need to, I
if
still would work.
well, I mean, what it would develop, it would be developing into more work at the thing that you're making the
Yeah.
most money at, right? Because like neither you or I are going to be slouches. That's just not the way we're wired.
No, I don't want to be. I don't want to do nothing. I
Yeah.
feel useless if I'm sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah, it's not a good look. So I don't know, but I'm not worried about that part of things. I am worried about people that are willing to accept that as
A lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah,
This
that
is my
scares
life
me.
now.
That scares me a little bit. You
Go
know what I
get
mean?
some extra cheesies and get your best sweatpants on for the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Like, I don't know.
And just Netflix and
Oh, yeah,
Netflix and exist, anyone?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's that Wall-E scenario of just in a chair in front of a TV. That's it.
Yeah.
And that
then
scares me.
And then they just do a fast forward, and eventually it's a skeleton still holding the bag
Yeah.
of chips.
Yeah.
I didn't even leave the couch.
Yeah. This is where I end. Oh man, it's weird. We live in an interesting time, man.
For sure.
Like, it's cool in some respects because we get all the cool technology and stuff. And but man, it's like
the time we're in is it facilitated a lot of what I'm doing, but because like I've said always, like, oh, I would love to live 50, 60 years ago, and it's like you couldn't have done all the body mod stuff you're doing. I say,
you'd
yeah,
be arrested.
You're probably right. However, I probably would have done what was possible for the time.
Fair.
Like I would have been the guy who had, a big dragon on his bicep or something. Yeah. Like a leather vest, bandana or something,
Yeah.
some cool shades. I would have been that
You'd have been
guy.
Easy Rider.
I would have been
basically.
that guy for times, right?
Yeah.
Because what I have always thought that I do is a timeless thing. It just manifests differently throughout the ages.
Of course, yeah.
Right? Like it's just the rebellion look of the times.
Well, and tattoos is thousands of years.
Yep.
Like thousands, which is crazy.
It's just maybe I would have been that Australian gentleman I was telling you about one day, where his tattoos, as I said, very beautiful, but different than what we do these days.
Yeah.
So maybe that would have been me.
Probably.
I definitely romanticize an era before things got so fast-paced.
Well, I think we long for an escape from it because, again, I do think that it escalates.
The rise of podcasts.
Yeah.
Like, people want to have dialogue.
Yeah.
Like, somehow. I don't know. Even if it's in a way that's sort of artificial. Like, the idea, for example, of, like, we all just seen it, the Joe Rogan possible podcast.
Oh my God.
Biden and Trump.
Biden and Trump.
But this is where we're at with podcasts have taken center stage. It's not going to happen. Let's be honest. But,
oh, dude, I wish. I so wish.
But like the power that they've taken on.
Do you have any idea how many people would watch that?
I said I'd pay $50 to see it.
I would too. That's like, a pay-per-view event.
That's like old school wrestling.
Yes,
right.
100%.
Like that's like Stone Cold versus The Rock, or like Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage.
100%.
Like you get your popcorn. Like you got a beer there. You got your buddies, and oh, I can't wait to see how it works. You know what I mean? Like you get a few like, I don't know. I could see them selling it like there's a couple of mini cards next to it, like almost like a big UFC fight. Like, we're going to have these two squaring
we'll
off.
have just little debates that lead up to the main debate.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
You could make a whole day event out of it.
Yeah. 24 hours, Joe Rogan is exhausted by the end of it.
But yeah, I bet he'd do the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, for sure he would.
Because he's
an extremist, man. Like, he would absolutely love to do that. He loves to push everything.
I was even picturing, like, you remember the first time he interviewed Elon, and he dressed up for it. Like, he had the nice shirt.
He had the shirt on.
I was, like, picturing Rogan shining his head for it and wearing a nice shirt and getting all spiffed up.
Well, I think, like, that was the first thing, in my opinion, that he was, like, in a different
stratosphere.
Because, like, that, I mean, the guy you just had on again, Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things where it's like, okay, he's 60 Minutes now. The way that it used to be, where it was like that was the thing you went on if you wanted to take someone seriously, was like you go on 60 Minutes. Now Joe Rogan is the thing that you take seriously. Which is astounding.
And then he can still be the comedy too.
Yes. Like, well, he will never not be a comedian.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that. I think even if Biden's sitting in front of him or Trump's sitting in front of him, especially if Trump's sitting in front of him, he will be joking away.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like
I would love even just to see, because like people go, oh, what do you like Trump? I'm like, it's completely indifferent to that. I could hate him or love him. I still think he's hilarious.
Yeah.
I don't care what you say.
He's a TV personality. And that he is proficient.
Yeah.
Like there's no way
here's
around
what
it.
I would have loved to have seen, because Rogan did have Bernie on, and if Bernie had been the nominee, which is what I wanted to happen, he would have debated Trump, and that would have made for an actual interesting conversation. What I see with Biden and Trump, it would be kind of like Trump would be the star of the show and Biden would just be there.
I think Biden would have to have a really good day.
Oh yeah, he'd need a good day.
Like I have seen a couple of things where Biden is on a good day.
He used to be really sharp, sure.
Yeah, and he's not super great at recalling things accurately, like numbers and statistics and things like that. And that could be his age, or that could just be how his brain is wired. But in terms of his ability to express empathy, it's pretty strong. Which, like, that's on a good day.
He's pretty warm.
Yeah.
Yeah, people warm
Which
to
I
him.
think that's one of the reasons that he must resonate with people, is because, like, Trump is not exactly a warmth guy.
Nope.
And that's fine.
He's a showman.
He's a showman, and he is what he is. But, like, if I would love to see that debate happen if they were both in a good frame. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, even, like, when, like, Trump has been in communication with Biden over this COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
And even Biden has said it's been nothing but cordial. Like,
sure.
They have no real reason to hate each other other than the fact that everybody wants them to hate each other.
It's the political sport of it, right?
And, like, weirdly enough, a lot of the things that they're pitching, like, Biden is pitching a lot of similar things to what Trump is pitching. In terms of increased military, increased funding, increased all these things too.
They're both working like they're fringe.
Yeah,
like,
but they're
actually centrist.
Yeah, which is so weird that you have to project that you're this extreme side in order to get to your center.
Yeah, I think it's to cover your bases, right? Because everyone on the center right will go with the right, but then the right guy wants all the fringe right too, so he has to pretend to be more like. There's a lot of.
But if you're if you're on the right, no matter how centrist you are. You really think you're not going to get the extreme right?
I mean, I don't know what they think, but I see Trump do things like making pitches for Bernie guys, like where he's dog whistling at Bernie guys at a rally. I watch Kyle Kulinski, and he showed a clip of Trump rally where he's talking about how if Hillary would have been smart, she would have made Bernie her vice president, and then she would have had a chance against me. Because let's be honest, Bernie was hot.
Yeah,
he was saying this himself, and he's like, but they screwed Bernie, and they screwed him again, and like these are all, this is political chess. Like he's trying to romance the Bernie guys, which it does work on a good portion of them.
Yeah, but ironically, like he's preaching nowhere what Bernie is preaching.
No, I know, and Bernie even says, I don't want his support, but like. It doesn't matter like what the person says.
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're just listening to that speech, it sounds on the money, right?
Sounds good.
It sounds good. Trump is good at putting out things that sound good, right? That's sound good to his base, or like it's always coded for a certain person to hear it.
Yeah.
That's a dog whistle, right? Like,
man, I don't know what. I'm glad we're in Canada. I could say that.
Yeah, me too.
Oh man.
Or we just get to look at it like theater.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and like I mean, I can't say that we're the most objective, but at the same time, we're not inundated with it. It's not around us all the time.
We get to look at it when we want to.
Yeah.
Right. And it will have some bearing on our life, but not completely.
Yeah.
So, but it is entertaining.
Yeah, man. They've got the I don't know. Like the idea of their ratings, I'm sure the news ratings have been the best they've been in a very long time.
Well, I was talking to a friend of mine about this. It's like, if you liked professional wrestling as a kid,
you'll love this.
You'll love this.
Yeah.
Like this is where it's at.
Theater and drama.
Same thing.
Yeah.
For me, it fills the same role.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, oh, I wonder what so and so's gonna do this week.
Yeah. It's strange though. Like that's politics.
Yeah, these are the people running our world.
Oh, and we're looking at it like it's wrestling.
Yeah, we're waiting for Trump to come down the ring with a steel chair or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah, man, it's strange times.
Very
cool, though.
Very cool.
Yep.
Very strange. Yeah.